Human Right in Islam Part 6. 5. Preservation of wealth. Private wealth and property are the basis of the economy and of the livelihood of the members of the society. Islam protects personal wealth and imposes very strict penalties against banditry, robbery, and any violations against the sanctity of property. Cheating, embezzlement, monopoly, hoarding and many other harmful practices are also prohibited. This is done with the intention of ensuring protection to the wealth and personal assets of individuals. Islamic law imposes the corporal punishment of cutting off the hand of the thief who steals the property of others, in accordance with strict requirements and due process of law. God, the Almighty, states in the Quran, "As for the thief, the male and the female, amputate their hand in recompense for what they committed as a deterrent punishment from Allah. And Allah is exalted in might and wise." 5:38. It must be noted that the process of amputating the hand of a thief is only implemented with strict conditions, which include the following. 1. The stolen items or valuables must be in a sealed area requiring the thief to have to trespass. If a thief steals an item that is left outside negligently or not cared for, there is no punishment by amputation. The thief in this case may be subjected to the penalty of snatching, wherein the authorities determine the appropriate penalty or ta'zir. 2. The theft committed must not involve food for survival from hunger. The second Caliph Omar bin al-Khattab during the famine of the Ramadan year did not apply the punishment for stealing due to the conditions of widespread hunger. The value of the stolen items must be above the range of the value set for stealing that obligates amputation of the hand, in other words it must be larceny and not petty theft. These physical punishments are not to be carried out unless there is irrefutable evidence, i.e. no doubt that the crime has been committed, and that it is punishable by Islamic law. Islamic jurisprudence, however, in cases where it expiates corporal punishment for a crime he committed, will substitute it with another type of disciplinary punishment. Disciplinary punishment is usually less than the corporal punishment and is determined by the Muslim judge according to the type, level, category and severity of the crime and the criminal himself and his criminal record. Disciplinary punishment may be imprisonment, flogging in public, reprimanding him or imposing a fine for his crime. Other than thievery, Islam has banned all types of transgression against private possessions, estate, and land ownership. This is based on the statement in the Quran, "And do not consume one another's wealth unjustly or send it in bribery to the rulers in order that they might aid you to consume a portion of the wealth of the people unlawfully, while you know it is unlawful." 2:188. Therefore, the transgressor will be subjected to a tremendous and severe penalty on the Day of Judgment. This is based on the statement of God's Messenger s. "Whosoever unjustly takes any money or the wealth of another Muslim without a due right, God will meet such a person in a state of anger." Ahmad. Another statement of God's Messenger is, "Whosoever usurps a handspan of land, God will have this oppressor wear 7 earths around his neck on the Day of Judgment." Bukhari. Islamic law demands that the oppressor must return the amount he unjustly confiscated from other Muslims' land or property. Or alternatively he is forced to pay the value of such unjustly confiscated property. Furthermore, the oppressor in such a situation is subjected to a lashing penalty determined by the Muslim judge. Islam entitles the owner of wealth to defend all that he owns, even to the point of killing the aggressor, if that is the only means of stopping the aggression. If the owner kills the aggressor he is not to be killed for killing him, if he can prove that he killed him while defending his property. If the aggressor, on the other hand, killed the defending owner, the owner is a martyr and the attacker a murderer. This is based on the statement of God's Messenger, "Whosoever is killed defending his wealth is a martyr." Bukhari. Note on the preservation of the national resources. Reserved national resources are public property and the income generated from these natural resources must be placed in the public treasury to finance the needs of the public. Such resources are not to be owned privately by a specific group or class of people or individuals for any specific merit. The revenue of such resources is solely to be used for public welfare. It becomes a collective responsibility of the Islamic society to be vigilant against any intruder or aggressor against this property. Any unlawful exploitation of common natural resources is banned according to Islamic teachings and principles. God, the Almighty, states in the Quran, "And do not act corruptly, making mischief on the earth." 2:60. Furthermore, this is based on the statement of God's Messenger, "Muslims are partners in 3 natural resources: water, grazing grass and fire," by Abu Dawud. Note on public and private rights in Islam. Islam endeavors to strengthen the social ties among the members of the Islamic society. Islam addressed the rights of the immediate members of the family first, then the kindred who have obligations and rights towards each other according to their closeness. The value and the importance of such rights vary according to the kind and degree of relationship. God, the Almighty, states in the Quran, O mankind, fear your Lord, who created you from one soul and created from it its mate and dispersed from both of them many men and women. And fear Allah, through whom you ask one another, and the wombs. Indeed Allah is ever, over you, an observer. 4:1. And God says in the context of inheritance rules, you know not which of them, whether your parents or your children, are nearest to you in benefit, these fixed shares are ordained by God. And God is ever all-knower, all-wise. 4:11. Other relationships were not neglected in Islam either, since they are all part of the network that joins people, making them closer to each other personally and socially. People who are more distant to each other also need a type of bond that brings them together in order to build a cohesive society. God, the Almighty, states in the Quran, and they are those who, if we give them authority in the land, establish prayer and give the obligated charity and enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong. And to Allah belongs the outcome of all matters. 22:41. Strengthening of relationships is also guided by the statement of God's messenger. Do not envy one another, do not inflate prices on one another, do not hate one another, do not turn away from one another, and do not undercut one another, but be you, O servants of God, brothers. A Muslim is the brother of a Muslim, he neither oppresses him nor does he fail him, he neither lies to him nor does he hold him in contempt. Piety is right here, and he pointed to his chest 3 times. It is evil enough for a man to hold his Muslim brother in contempt. A Muslim to another Muslim is sacred, his life, his property, and his honor. Muslim. And he said, the example of believers in love, affection, cooperation, and sympathy is like that of one body. If one organ of the body aches, the entire body will support the aching body part by wakefulness and fever. Bukhari. A word on public rights and duties. Introduction. Islam instructs a believer to share the concerns and the trials of his Muslim brethren all over the world and assist them according to his ability. The Messenger of God said, a believer to another believer is like the bricks of one building, each one strengthens the other. Upon saying this, the Messenger of God intertwined his fingers. Bukhari, Hadith number 5680 and Muslim, Hadith no. 2585. Islam teaches a Muslim to respect the reputation of a fellow Muslim and avoid undue suspicion. The Messenger of God said, avoid suspicion. Suspicion is the worst lie. Do not follow the bad news, shortcomings, and deficiencies of your Muslim brethren. Do not spy upon your Muslim brethren. Do not compete with evil minds and intentions against your Muslim brethren. Do not hate your Muslim brethren. Do not turn away from your Muslim brethren when they are in need of your help and assistance. O servants of God! Be brethren to one another, as he commanded you to be. A Muslim is a brother to another Muslim. A Muslim must be just to his Muslim brother. A Muslim must not let his brother down and forsake him. A Muslim must not expose his Muslim brother, unless his crime impacts upon others. Everything that a Muslim possesses is unlawful for other Muslims to use without prior approval of the owner or abuse for no due right. Piety and righteousness is here, pointing out to his chest, i.e. the heart. Piety is here. It is a sufficient evil for a Muslim to expose the private sins of his Muslim brother. Everything that a Muslim owns or possesses is unlawful for another Muslim to tamper with. His life, his protected items, in terms of dignity, honor, and family members, and his wealth or possessions. Truly, God does not look at your exterior, but rather he is concerned with your hearts and actions. Bukhari, Hadith no. 5680 and Muslim, Hadith number 2585. Another guideline for this is contained in the words of God's Messenger, A Muslim will not become a true believer until he likes for his Muslim brother what he likes for himself. Bukhari, Hadith no. 13. Rights of a ruler. Introduction. This right is simply based on the contents of the Quran. O you who believe! Obey God, and obey the Messenger, and those charged with authority among you. 4:59. The following are some of the directives required for a Muslim to observe. Obedience to the ruler in that which is not forbidden. This is based on the instructions of God's Messenger listen and obey, even if a slave has been appointed as a ruler so long as he acts according to the Book of God. Muslim, Hadith no. 1838. Obedience of a Muslim ruler who is acting in accordance with the divine book of God is an extension to the obedience of God, and vice versa. Any act of disobedience to the commands of a ruler who is acting in accordance with the book of God is, in reality, an act of disobedience to God. A Muslim leader must be offered sincere advice that benefits him, the community, and the entire nation. A Muslim ruler must be reminded of his duties and exhorted to remain faithful to his pledge. This is based on the directives in the Quran, but speak to him gently. Perhaps he may take warning or fear God. 2044, and the Prophet said, the religion is sincerity and advice. We said, for who? He said, sincerity to God and for his book, and sincerity and advice to his Prophet and for the leaders of the Muslims and for their public. Muslim. The followers must support a Muslim ruler during crises. Muslims are commanded to comply with their leader and not forsake him or provoke people against him in order to instigate troubles and evil. This is based on the instruction of God's Messenger s. If a person comes to you while a single leader is leading you, attempting to split your unity, he should be executed by the government. Muslim. Hadith No. 1852.